It is time to honor another WMRC and Asphalt Engineering Hometown Hope Initiative recipient, this one for the month of March. We have Dr. Bob Tremblay, Superintendent of Schools in the Milford School System, and that is who is being honored, our Milford School System here. Hi, Bob. Congratulations on the honor.
It's fantastic. I couldn't even believe. What a surprise.
I know. I thought it came right from you, but it must have been one of your admirers at the school in the front office.
I don't know. I have to thank everybody.
You've done so much, and you're moving on.
I know.
How's that feel?
It feels very, very surreal.
Yeah.
You know, 18 years in Milford. You get to a point where it's interesting. We've had a number of hires in Milford, actually, staff coming on board, and I look at the name. I'm like, my God! I remember opening this kid's ketchup packet when he was a kindergartner, and now they're an employee in the school district.
Yeah.
So you've kind of, I feel like I've lived a generation here of kids coming through the district, and
you've been superintendent for a long time.
Yeah,
as well.
9 years as superintendent, and then but 18 overall in the district. So it's a strange, it's kind of a bittersweet feeling. I feel like Milford's, although I live in Mendon, I feel like Milford's kind of my home. I shop here, I eat here, and kind of live in this community, and I'll still continue to do that.
I was going to say, are you planning on moving, or?
Yeah, well, I couldn't ever afford to live in Weston,
Not yet, at least. I'm sure a few years of what they're paying you, you'll be up there.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. When I interviewed, I share a funny story with you. When I interviewed a few years back, and opportunities have come up along the way, and I've really only chosen career moves that I thought were really strategic, and
it makes sense.
It made sense. It wasn't just like
you're a young guy.
Yeah, young guy. I wasn't really job shopping, but a few years back, Framingham came up, and people in Milford, were, why would you want to go to Framingham? And Framingham's a great community. I was a finalist there, and I bring it up because they had asked me in the interview process, hey Bob, if you're offered the position, would you consider moving to Framingham? And I'm not that far from Mendon. But I said, yeah, sure, of course. I'd consider that. Interviewing very similar in Weston, opportunity came up for me to apply, and I did. They asked the question, say, hey Bob, if you're offered the position here, would you move closer to Weston? It was never, would you move to Weston?
Right.
It's not going to be, let's just take that off the table. Let's just take that off the table. So
you live in Mendon.
I have very humble roots. It's funny. But Weston is a very solid community, great resources.
Right.
And, I've cut my teeth in Milford. I've learned, so this will be that next chapter for me. And it really comes at a time where there's so much change happening in Milford right now.
Right. There really is.
Yeah.
I mean, people coming on to boards. I feel like there's a lot more youth involved.
There is.
In Milford. A whole new generation is starting to come forward and saying, this is our town. We have to take it back, or we have to help improve it. But I see a lot of that now.
Yeah, the way you say with the April election coming up, you see some of that. The fact that we're preparing to close Middle School East as one of our school buildings, opening up a brand new $61 million Woodland Elementary School.
Wow, very excited. My son is going to be in the first class there,
Oh,
so
fantastic for the next 3 years there. So that school's it's on time, it's on budget, everything you'd hoped in a project. It's just great people, and then now you have this tremendous change in leadership. So. After 9 years in the role, I feel like as though I've opened the door. Maybe people kind of been waiting at the door for a while for an opportunity, because Milford has been great for career ladder growth in the school department. And I mentioned the part about the student, talk about full circle, right? Here's a kid I knew in kindergarten, made his way through 13 years of public education, went on to college, and then comes back and works in our district as an educator. That's pretty cool.
Wow,
and to be here long enough to actually see that full cycle, man, maybe it is time to go. But what's also really cool about this is reflecting on our leadership team and our principals. I think I'm honest when I say every member of our district leadership team at the central office and building-based principals and assistant principals, everyone has held some position in the district prior, so they've all moved from within the organization, everybody, and now including Kevin McIntyre. So Kevin, living in Concord, coming beforehand from Tewksbury, but Kevin worked for 3 years with me as assistant superintendent, and now has been promoted internally.
Promoting within, that's a
within.
big deal.
It is.
That says a lot about what you did while you were here. The job that you held and the people that were under you, you molded them and shaped them to the point where now they can run it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks. And it is building that leadership team pipeline.
Yeah.
And now the most recent appointment is you have Craig Insigley. Craig Insigley, Woodland principal. So on the one hand, he's was preparing to open a brand new school, and how exciting that is. But now he gets to be in a different kind of driver's seat
Yeah.
at the central office level, and he'll do great work there. And then now it's a matter of, filling the vacancy at Woodland School. But perhaps there's an opportunity there for promotion from within. We'll see how that process plays out. But it's really encouraging to see what's happening in the community. I feel like as though my leaving has now opened this door that was probably a long time coming. Not to say that I'm not tired of working in Milford, at all. But the time has come where making a move, and this is probably the right time.
Well, we change our leadership for the country every 4 years, or we try to at least every 4 years. So, it makes sense that every once in a while the leader has to step aside and say, it's someone else's turn. I'm hopefully going to move on to something better, or I leave this in your hands.
Right.
Because that happens everywhere. Senators and presidents, and it just happens.
It's
of
true.
course, we want you here forever. I mean, that'd be great, but it's time for you to move on, and now you're leaving it in good hands.
It's just a strange, out of your comfort zone kind of thing for me. I've worked here for so long in this community; it's sort of all I know. And part of me was thinking, boy, if I continue to stay here, I might never leave because I don't think I'll ever. It takes sort of that leap of faith to step out of that. I know people who are listening or maybe listening who will change jobs frequently in the private industry.
Sure.
If it's different, or even in superintendencies, usually it's 3 years and you're on to the next thing. So there's been a longevity of the administrators in this community, and I really think I believe I'm leaving it better than I found it.
Good. That's your hope, at
And
least.
I think that the next person will come in, Kevin will come in, and that team will take it to that next level, and hopefully I'll be as successful in another community and working in Weston.
Some districts and towns hire from within, and the others hire from outside. And there's pros and cons, I'm sure, but, and not to be negative, are there cons to hiring within?
It's a good question. In fact, when I was interviewing in Weston, I had asked that question: is there an internal candidate?
Oh, that's right, because you're coming in from the outside.
Yeah, and because you don't want to go in there and sort of step on somebody's toes, or
Right.
somebody, there was somebody not ready or overlooked who could have been in that role, and now I'm coming in and I already have an adversarial relationship because somebody felt like they should have had that position, and now I'm taking it over. My sense is that's not the case there, and I think there's a time. I think it really depends on what a district is trying to accomplish and whether or not the talent lies within the district to do that.
Okay.
And it seems to me that the work they're trying to do in Weston, for example, and why an outsider like me might fit in that community, is they're looking for somebody who's got experience with contract negotiations and somebody who can build relationships with staff and kind of organize some of the basics that maybe have, I wouldn't say overlooked over the years, but just need to be really focused on.
Right.
And I've done that. They're also seeing an increasing number of English language learners in that community. Different demographic of ELL students. They're coming mostly from China. But the fact that I've had that experience in Milford, dealing with ELL population, those skills are all transferable. So maybe in that case, an outside perspective of somebody who's sort of done something that the internal pool of people haven't experienced might be to your advantage. But always, whenever you have talent within the organization, you promote from within. I mean, that's
within.
Yeah. But there's always the question you asked about the cautionary tale there.
Yeah.
I suppose you run the risk of things kind of always being the same.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It's not gonna be
Sometimes
different.
you need fresh eyes.
A new fresh set of eyes.
Okay.
And I suppose that's something to watch out for. Is it going to be sort of a perpetuation of sort of the old guard, kind of
Right.
business as usual? I don't see that happening. I haven't seen that happening in the years that we promoted from within, but there's always the potential of that. It's just.
Well, again, in our town, I feel like there's a resurgence of excitement.
Yeah.
That's what I've only lived here 6 years. I've been a part of Milford for my whole life, but lived here for 6 years, and I've seen this year just be a real exciting year for change.
Yeah.
With you leaving and hiring within, like you said, that's very exciting. These are people that you kind of brought up from the farm leagues and now throwing them out there into the majors. And with selectmen and school committee, Jim Legore running for school committee for the first time, and he's a youthful guy. And
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
Pat Holland for selectmen, another youthful member of the community jumping in there with a new set of eyes.
Right. It's great to see that, and the whole idea of hope, you talk about hope in a school district, I think that it's hopeful if the message I think that gets communicated by these actions is, hey, if I'm a teacher in this district and I want to aspire to be a school leader, And we do that, we're always scouting out for the top teacher talent who we think has the potential to move into a leadership role. And we nurture that. We pay for them to take these classes. We'll pay for their master's degree in leadership, for example. We'll give them the practicum hours they need. I think there's probably 4 or 5 people that I've mentored for their superintendent license in Milford schools, so they can move on either within the district or some other district. But there's that hope of if I'm an educator and I want to grow to some other kind of level of position in this district, that there's an opportunity. It's not as though we're always going outside to bring in the candidate. There's room to grow, and whether it's through an assistant principalship to a principalship. I mean, I came into the district not as a teacher here, but as an assistant to the principal at Memorial, moved to principal, became superintendent. Had Jose Vieira done what he probably should have done years back, right? He became the superintendent and then let me sit for a few years as his assistant. It probably would have been an even smoother transition for me.
Right.
Because it's that hard transition coming from a teaching role to a central office role, because it's really more big picture. But there's hope. There's plenty of opportunity, and that's the message that's going to be sent through this.
This is great. This is so therapeutic for me. Now I feel better about you leaving.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I reflect back saying, geez, I probably should have left a long time ago. All these people are all waiting. They're all just waiting for me to go. Or, it's an odd feeling. And I suppose this is pretty normal, like for a president to feel like the lame duck. You get to that point where you feel like you almost don't matter. But it's interesting because the process was so early in Weston. They wanted to lock in their next leader before the market, because you start getting closer out to the spring market, you run the risk of losing the, I say the best candidates, but your talent pool is diminished. But that was all done, wrapped up before Thanksgiving. So now it's this long series of months. But the commitment I made then and now is that when I leave this district, I'm going to leave it, again, better than I found it, but showing that I've worked harder in my last 5 months than I did probably my first 5.
That's so important,
Because you don't want to ever check out. Nobody wants that, and the town doesnn't deserve that.
Because everyone's got their eyes on you now, more so than ever.
Absolutely.
Like, what's he going to do now that he's leaving?
Exactly. Is he going to be, out and about, whatever, but it's not the case. So what I'm trying to do now is to close the loop on. There's certain projects that I've taken on as pet projects that some never saw the light of day. I'll give you an example of that. This is sort of like the behind-the-scenes VH1
nice.
thing. The old Purchase, the district's schoolhouse on Purchase Street, as you head toward Hopkinton. It's the little brick building that Ann Lamontang and her husband maintain. They live across the street. She's like the caretaker. They go over there, they mow the lawn, they keep an eye on the place, and Concealy Construction for a while got in there, did some work to kind of keep the roof in place. That had been like a long time pet project on my radar, that I wanted to find a historical grant to renovate that building and make it so that kids could understand, like a little field trip, almost like a little Sturbridge Village, but in Milford, so that kids, or in the Blackstone region, so kids could appreciate what school life was like in the 1800s. Because I worry that as we progress in education, we lose sight of maybe how the past worked.
I think so, because
I think it's important. Yeah, it did, and and not a lot of towns have a schoolhouse that's that old. I don't know if you've ever been inside of it.
No, I haven't.
So there's desks in there, like from the 1800s.
Oh wow.
The stove, and you'd have to obviously do some retrofitting. But wouldn't it be cool if you took kids there and gave them all? Let's say you had a little video on an iPad about life in school in the 1800s. Boys used a separate entrance from girls, and whatever you may happened back in school in that time, and they used their tablet. Like instead of using the tablet back in the day, they use now a modern tablet, and so that was a project that never saw the light of day because it just wasn't time.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that Kevin probably is not going to take it on unless it's an interest of his.
Yeah.
So that gets kind of tucked away, sadly.
You could bring it back someday.
Yeah, I could bring it back
especially
someday.
if you're still in our community, you're still living around here.
Sure, and as opportunities come up, or just maybe putting it out there right now, people hear it and say, "Hey, I know somebody who knows somebody." And
a great idea.
But there's other kinds of things that are very much alive and well, like our blended learning initiative in school with technology. And as your son,
Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
He's in second grade now.
So as he starts, we'll get him ready so that when he goes into the schools, come middle school level, that we are anticipating having a device for every kid. That work is going to be, that torch will be carried. So a lot of what's happening in the next 4 months or so for me is passing the torch off to Kevin on stuff that is things we've worked on together, or projects that need to be carried forward or brought to the next level. And there's certain things that will just be, strategically abandoned, that were not really ever central to the schoolwork, but could have been a new opportunity. So I'll have to innovate those ideas elsewhere, and then somebody else's creativity can hopefully flourish. But it's exciting times in the community. You know, you talk about people getting involved, and drive down the street, see all the political signs and people's
Yeah.
lawns, and people outside, you know, just trying to serve their town.
Yeah, yeah.
Campaigning, marketing, waving.
We have a Citizens for Milford now who are
Yeah.
trying to do a lot for the community, which is great.
They really do all these different forum events. It'd be tough. I would think it'd be tough to be a candidate running
I
for an
know.
election in this community.
It's a little serious
Between
this
the
time.
MRC event and the Citizens for Milford event, and
Yeah.
I think the PTOs usually hold something. The
There's
senior
at least
center.
3 or 4 of them. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't hide.
Oh no, oh no, and you have to have you have to be able to articulate why you want to serve the town
Yep.
in the way that you do.
And people are listening.
They are
And
listening.
they want to know what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
What do you think the school system has done for the community since you've been there? Let's talk about that time frame.
Yeah.
How do you give back?
Well, you know, I think the school system has become, in my view, it's always been sort of the hub of the community. I mean, how much you sell your house for has a direct relationship to the quality of,
That's true.
or the perceived quality of the public education system. And I think you take our relationship that we have now, our various business partnerships that we have with the school department. So we have students who are now, you know, in the business world, the DoubleTree,
Yep.
Atlas Travel, all the local businesses there. We have students who are now working there,
Yep.
and helping to get the good word out about those businesses. So there's a business reciprocity with the school department. Our schools are very much involved with, like, for example, just this year is a culture building effort. Brookside School staff and some Memorial School staff, I think Woodland staff, all the elementary schools, in fact, came together and they did a few rehearsals, and they went over to the Blair House at Christmas time, and they sang.
That's great.
And, you know, I jumped in with them and played bass, and Lisa Firth played guitar, and we did a little concert for them at the Blair House.
I could speak for Brookside. Amazing staff over there.
Great people.
Lisa's amazing. We've been working with the whole staff and the PTO with Brookside's Got Talent coming up.
Yeah, I saw that on your website.
The 19th. A lot of fun, but they're so involved with the schools.
They are,
and it does show in the community. Like you said, they go out and they perform for the Blair House, and
Absolutely. The kinds of things I see, you know, Easter baskets. There's a summer feeding program where we're working with the YMCA. We know that kids who are eligible for free lunch in Milford, and that number's increased quite a bit. When I
Yeah.
started at Memorial School, the number was around 12% of students who were eligible for free lunch based on family income.
Yeah.
The number's around 42%. So, you know, that's a
Wow,
significant
yeah.
growth in an 18-year span. So we understand that come summertime, family income hasn't changed such that they can now provide a meal that they couldn't provide
Right.
during the school year. So the town, through a number of people who've brought this to the table, have made summer feeding for kids a priority. You know, there's another way, and the school becomes the outlet for that. So now our food services program makes the meals. The funding is raised through grants and through volunteerism, and then students and their families come and they can have a meal
Yep.
in the schools over the summertime. And that's just powerful. So the schools have become a hub, whether it's providing a meal or whether it's providing, you know, I think back, you know, over my career, remember the boil water order we had in town
yeah.
years back? So
Yep.
we had that issue with the water in town, and then we worked collaboratively, and cars were coming through the Milford High School parking lot,
Yep.
and we were doling out water there. You know,
Yep.
for right or for wrong, or whatever your perception is, we served the community through the schools. The great work that's happened with all these other side committees that have sort of worked to support the school, like the Fields Project. Brian Murray, that whole
Yep.
group that worked with one of the most beautiful athletic
Oh, that's
complex.
great, yeah.
You know, that's a great for the community, and the school manages that. We make sure we make sure we're taking in the revenue we need to regroom that field or resurface that field when the time comes.
Yeah.
Bathroom facility there, because, you know, we were sending people to little outhouses, and I mean, nice, you know, it's just I think Milford is a class act.
Yeah.
The community really, it takes the time to put things out that's thoughtful, that it can afford. You know, the town generally doesn't seem to spend beyond its capacity to spend, you know, which is great, and it's a great community. It really is. I think the schools do so much back in that regard. This is just a couple of examples, but the training we do for families, we do financial literacy. We don't just invite the kids for that. We've been doing helping students and their families plan for college, or for you know, understanding how to run a bank account. You don't really learn those things, you know, if you're not taught those skills
Right.
explicitly. So we are constantly viewing our schools as a way to educate our families, not just our kids. So really, really proud of it.
Well, I think our time's up. Because we could go on and on about
I
what
know.
you've done for the community.
Oh,
and,
thanks.
And what the schools do for the community. And there's so much to talk about with the schools. And, of course, we're always here to promote. And Ed's had you on, once a month?
Once a month, yeah, about
Once a month. And we'll have new administration on. And you're leaving at an exciting time and an important time in our community. But I feel like you're leaving us in good hands.
Yeah, thank you. It's I guess the legacy. When I think back, what's the legacy I want to leave here? I want to leave knowing that I hope I've been a good member of this community,
Yeah.
and what I feel is like a family. And it's tough to say goodbye to your family, but the good news is I'm still going to be living up the road.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear that you'll still be here.
And still be here and making music with you.
Making music, yeah. I got a band thing going. We're going to try to get you more shows in the area here.
Be great.
Which is great. So we'll still see a lot of Bob.
I love it.
It'll just be Bob the musician, not Superintendent Dr. Bob Tremblay. Thanks, Bob.